Let's get started with a new project. We are going to create a notepad using SQLite Database. So just go to create new project. I will call my application notepad and my component domain netport.com. If you don't have a component domain, then just write your first name last name.com. I will pick my own phone, AP21 Android 5, and I will just start with an empty activity called main activity. So the database is run by SQLite. It's a popular database for embedded systems, and it's the preferred one for Android. How it's actually created is that we are going to create an own class called DB adapter, which is going to do all the queries to the database, and that includes creating the database, updating, writing, deleting, so everything you would have done towards the database will be done directly from that class. This is done by just going to the project, and we're going to go to this folder here, right clicking and selecting new Java class, and our class name DB adapter, and make sure that it's a class. So here is our DB adapter, and this will be all our queries against the database. So the table I was thinking we could create is this one. We have the field note ID, note title, and note text. So the ID being an integer, being the primary key, and the title just being a varchar, and the text being a text. So you can create notes with a title and text, and they have their own ID. We need to include different classes to create the notepad. I will just include them over here. It's just the context, SQL expression, the log, and the toast. And I have created the database into separate numbers, so 1, 2, and so on. So we will just start with the 01. It's called database table and names. So the database name will be my database, and the table notes will be notes, and the version will be version 1. It's like when you're programming for phones. If you change the version, the old database will be deleted and a new one will be created. So that will do that the person who has the phone will lose all his content in the database. So then I will create a string, database create table notes, with the create table, database table notes with note ID being integer and the primary key, the title being a varchar, and the text, just as we have seen up here. Field ID, title, and text. We are going to create 3, 4, and 5 now. So number 3 is our variables that we're going to use in our database. It's a context. I'm sorry about that. It's a context, it's a database helper, and it's a database. So these are variables that we're going to use later on. The class is a public database adapter that we're going to call in our main activity. So we'll just use this later. And then we will start the database adapter. So this is when we call in main activity, we call for DB adapter, and it will then create a new database helper that's down here, method. And what we will do first is we're going to go to the onCreate code. So the onCreate code will try to create the table nodes. So up here we have the string create database create table nodes. So we will try to do it. If you have more databases, then you have to list them down here. Okay, and then we have the onUpgrade. So it takes in an old version and a new version. And the version is this database version number here. So if I increase my number here, the database new version will be different from old version, and it will drop the table and it will create the new table. So if you're going to change the table layout, then you also need to increase the version to make it delete the old table and create a new one. The open and close database, it's just to open a connection to the database and to close the connection to the database. So it's not very fun methods, but it's just something that have to be there and something that you shouldn't be editing. And now we have the fun part. We have the queries to the database. And we have insert record nodes. So these are methods in DB adapter for all the queries that we're going to run to the database. And for the insert, we will take a string title and a text. And the title will be the node title, and then the text will be the node text. So we will use a new content values, and we will put the values into the initial values, and we will insert it down here. When we're going to retrieve data, we have two different methods. We have get all records from nodes, and just returning them in a DB query. And also we have one for a list view. So these are different methods that we're going to use in our main activity. We have also that you can get a single row, and you have to specify the row ID, and you can truncate the table, and truncate means delete. So we have created the DB adapter. I will just run the emulator up. Takes a bit time to load, and we can go to a main activity. So inside onCreate, we will write our database code, and we can create more methods down here. And we can start by just opening the database, and we will do that by writing DB adapter DB new DB adapter this. And we of course have to close the database after. So when starting a new database, we have to create a DB adapter, just called DB. You have to open the database, and then we can close the database. So this is how you make a connection to the database. Between the open and close, we can actually write data to the database, delete, update, and do everything. So what I was thinking is that we could insert some rows, display the row, and update the row, and then display the row again. So I will insert a node called shopping list, and I will have a colon 0 crisp bread, and I will use toast. Just press Alt and Enter to import toast. To insert a line, a row, and then I will use a cursor to display the nodes, and this display record from nodes is a method. And this method we have to create, and it's not very difficult. Just display record for nodes, and we take the cursor in, the C node cursor. It would take the ID, the title, and the text, and just write it up. And it will, a cursor is, it will get all the nodes, and we go to the last node, and then just display it. So let's see if our application will start to run soon. And here it is. So we can try just to run it now and see if it works. So our application now will just create a row and then display it. Inserted ID1, and this is our row. So of course if we run the app again, if we write shopping list 2, then we will see insert ID2 because it's row number 2. So this was the insert, and we can go further until we can actually update the row. And as you can see, I will call for the same here, db update node. And the problem here is that I have to create the update node here. I have insert record, get all records, get all records, get record. So I have to create a method here for updating. I'll just see if it is here. If it's not, then I just will create it myself. So here it is. It's called update record node. Takes the long ID as the title and the text. You put the node title in the text and update it for database tables node, where node ID equals the node ID with input ID. And I want it to be an integer. just have to import the class cursor. Strange. Oh, yeah, I see I have a typo. So what I will do now is that I will first insert a row called shopping list where I have cola zero crisp bread, and then I will view the row. Then I will use db adapter after the row to add cola light instead of cola zero, and then I will display the row. And I got some problem here. Okay, so it should be a boolean. So we will just try to run the application now. So inserted ID3 with this list, and the 0 should be changed now to cola light, yeah, with the same ID. So this is it's